Well, good morning. I'm Jeff Coleman.
And I'm Debra Pinkerton. Welcome to Morning Light.
So in just a minute, our Morning Light panel will talk about the importance of having a dad in the home.
But first, here's a preview of what's coming up later in the show. Hope, Inspire, Love. Learn about this central Pennsylvania nonprofit that is fighting sex trafficking and sexual exploitation. Find out how the organization shines light on this ever-growing form of modern slavery.
What an incredible mission they have.
They do.
In recent weeks, words from the late actor Gene Hackman from 24 years ago have been making the rounds online. An emotional clip remembering his father's abandonment when the future Oscar winner was just 13. He said the abandonment was still felt decades after the event, shaping his lifelong sympathy for others. Of course, the 95-year-old actor and his wife Betsy were tragically found dead in their home in Santa Fe, New Mexico in February.
Yes. Well, the impact of fatherless homes in America isn't limited to Gene Hackman. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, nearly 25 million American children do not live with their biological dad. Now, if we break that number down by race, more than 57% of black children live without a father. 31% are Hispanic and nearly 21% are white. Statistics indicate the consequences of not having a father in the home increases the likelihood of poverty, drug and alcohol abuse, crime, and teen pregnancy.
But Debra, there's also a hopeful side of this tragic narrative, living alongside the tale of fatherlessness. Stepdads, youth pastors, teachers, neighbors stepping into so many lives, filling in the gap where dad is no longer present. In his autobiography, Hillbilly Elegy, Vice President J.D. Vance, famously raised in poverty by a once drug-addicted single mom, says uncles stepped in to fill the void and later mentors throughout all the stages of his life. But what are the consequences if the fatherless trend continues? What are some of the practical ways your church can play in challenging this tragic reality? We'll take this question to the Morning Light panel this morning. And what a delight it is to have a couple new faces to the panel. Leona, Rega, glad to have you. Human Life Services.
Yes.
And you do incredible work, and I'm sure we'll have you back to unpack the mission of Human Life Services some more. Alex, good to have you back.
Good to be here.
And Ty Cowan, glad to have you.
Glad to be here.
Now, you are the newly elected president of the student body.
Yeah, there we go, yeah.
At Messiah University.
Yes,
I thought I would leave the tension there just a little bit. I want to start with you. The impact of fatherless homes all around us, but acutely felt in urban areas, acutely felt in the African American community. But what is the impact of that, the bomb radius of what you see not having a father in the home is?
Yeah, so I can even speak from my own personal experience where I grew up without my father going from 3rd grade to high school. And it was at the time I didn't see the impact. I didn't understand the lack of guidance. I didn't understand the lack of structure and discipline. But as I've grown to become a man, it's like, wow, I'm missing a lot. Not only am I lacking structure and discipline, I'm lacking the emotional capacity to deal with relationships, whether that be intimate relationships or whether that just be business casual friendships, where I've lacked the emotional instability to deal with certain situations. And as I lead the youth in my area now, where I probably have 10 to 15 kids that come every Friday, and there's probably about 10 of them that are not living with their biological father. Wow. And I see the impact that they face, the emotional impact, and it's just an issue. And I think in the article is saying if this was a disease, right, it would be considered an epidemic. And I looked at it the same way. Why isn't this talked about more? Yeah. If this is an epidemic, if this is such an issue, why isn't this discussed even more?
I think maybe it's so personal and it's embarrassing to some, but the honesty is really what we need on this. Let me play a clip from Gene Hackman. I alluded to it at the beginning of the program. Famous actor, but someone who was deeply wounded at an early age. Let's watch this.
How old were you when your father left?
Well, my dad left us when I was about 13, I guess.
Was it easy, hard?
No, it was tough. Yeah.
Tough. I've read that there was a sort of casual wave goodbye.
Yeah, I was down the street playing with some guys, and he drove by and kind of waved, and
that was it. But you saw him occasionally, presumably, huh? Were you close to your mother?
Yeah. Excuse me.
Did life change radically?
It's only been 65 years or so, you know.
Leona, when you see that clip, is this something that you see especially with young men who, I mean, you're dealing with a point of crisis for many young women, a pregnancy, unplanned, maybe unwanted, and often the partner is not a part of the conversation. Do you see this as adjacent to an issue that's connected to it?
We do. We see a lot of women that think that their partner does not want to be a father to their child, or they don't see them as being able to be a partner and a father to their child because maybe their relationship itself isn't strong. And so some of the things that we notice is that if the dad is given an opportunity and a chance and a voice, and there's mentors in his in his path that can help him to learn and develop skills to be a dad, then they want to be a dad. They want to be present. They desire that deep from within themselves. They just need a mentor to help them to get there.
It's almost, Alex, as if there's nobody to call, if there's nobody up. And when we think about, knowing that I can call my dad after the show and say, hey, what did you think? Did you think I did okay? Is, I think, very different from not having someone to call.
Yeah, it's like the Apostle Paul who said, you have many teachers, you have few fathers, right? There's endless media personalities, experts out there that you can listen to. There's fewer people that you can pick up the phone to and have that sort of paternal relationship with. At the very least, we need more uncles, like you described from J.D. Vance's family and experience earlier, reviewing some of that story, or pastors as well, stepping into that gap and being that masculine leading presence in young men's lives and young women's lives especially.
So does the church model as it's currently constructed, moving away from denominations, moving into non-denominational churches, are those larger church environments able to meet that need? I mean, are there programs and structures being built specifically aimed at the fatherless epidemic?
They can. But there's more work to be done. We're doing a men's event at our church next weekend. We're focused on this. Now, we're blessed with many intact families in our church. That's one of the things that you see is that a lot of this is outside of the church as well. And it's within the church, and you've broken families within the church. It starts with teaching men, how to lead in their homes, how to lead their wives, their children, how to disciple their family. And they learn that there. They're not going to learn it anywhere else.
Ty, I see you nodding over there. So what is your church doing? How do you reverse it? How do you, if you're hearing this, I don't want people just to be led into this dark place of, well, there's nothing we can do, the trends are bad.
I would say if we look at the world, the nation, the world we live in general, just a loneliness epidemic where we bring in, life is hard, right? Life is hard. Being a student, being a son, a father is hard. And I think speaking on men, like being able to understand that being a man is hard, being a father is hard, and getting those men together. And speaking of, like, our church meets every Sunday around 6:30, and we kind of just go through what manhood looks like. And me in my 20s, I get to see people 30, 40, 50 years old saying, hey, this is what your 20s, this is how you should spend your 20s, this is how you should spend your 30s. And I'm able to grasp that and understand that manhood is not done alone. Manhood is not done in isolation. And I think men struggle with that often, where you almost have to pull the man out of the boy. And I think that's something that the Rock Church specifically is working on. I believe other churches as well, where that's something we should focus on. How can we bring the man out of the boy? And that takes a community and working together.
How can we bring the man out of the boy? Wow, that's powerful. What do we do to get these cross-generational relationships that Ty is talking about, getting older men or older women to be able to mentor, to say, hey, this is how it's done, or here are the obstacles you're going to face in your 20s, or when you do find out that the pregnancy test is positive, don't freak out, here's what to do next, just breathe. What do you do? How do you do this?
Well, pregnancy centers have done a great job at really focusing on mom and helping her along the journey. And in that conversation and path, we've noticed that he's sitting there quietly, silently, and he's got the same emotions that she does, but just like Ty said, he doesn't know how to express them. So we have men that come into the pregnancy center. They are men who have either walked in their path, in their shoes, and know what they're feeling and going through, and allow them just to speak out, just to share. What is it that you're feeling today as a guy? Well, how do you feel about this pregnancy? How do you feel about becoming a father? Maybe dig digging into what was the father presence in your life that you didn't have before. And once you can start to scratch that open, it really can just broaden the possibilities of a father stepping into the role.
Ty, I want to ask you, so just take me in for a second into that room where you've got these guys. Is it difficult, kind of in those initial to say things that guys don't normally say or talk deeply?
It can be, and I think the consistency of the men showing up every single day, where when I come in, I see familiar faces and saying, they shared a piece of their story with me, and I feel comfortable enough sharing with them. And I think there needs to be a comfortable space where men can showing
mistakes and challenges
and cry a little bit at times.
Right.
We talk about real deep
men crying.
Yes, and it's. I was told that when you can cry in a man's as a man, when you can cry in a man's presence, it only makes you more of a man, because it's like, wow, I can't. These feelings are validated, and I can still be that man that I feel like I need to be. So, I think just that consistency of the men showing up, it opens up a space, and I cannot describe it or explain how beautiful being in that room and be able to share these stories with the brothers at our church.
Alex, take 30 seconds and give a challenge to a pastor or a lay leader who's listening to this, saying, "Okay, we've got to do something." Where should they start?
We have to change what Thomas Sowell calls, in a different context, the soft bigotry of low expectations. So part of the reason men are stepping up and not stepping up and not being present as fathers is because they're not expected to. So lovingly, biblically, with the commands of Scripture, showing them it's good to be a man. It's good to take responsibility. It's good to take responsibility for other people, to sacrifice yourself, to lead, to rule your household, to rule yourself first, and to do all of that in response to the grace of God in Christ, who served his Father perfectly.
15 seconds. What do you mean by rule yourself?
Yeah, being a man isn't just about exercising authority in the outside world. You have to discipline yourself as well. Get up early, get into Scripture, get into prayer. If you're disciplining yourself, you'll be able to take dominion in a biblical way over your sphere of authority.
And maybe grow a manly beard, right?
It helps.
Hey, thank you all. This was transparent and open and very, very helpful. Well, it is estimated that there are more than 40 million people who are victims of human trafficking worldwide. A central Pennsylvania nonprofit is finding ways to fight this modern-day slavery. Debra will talk with Hope, Inspire Love. That's up next. You're watching Morning Light right here on Lighthouse TV.
Welcome back. Human trafficking is in the business of stealing freedom for profit. It happens every day right in our neighborhoods. Hope, Inspire Love is fighting this problem in central Pennsylvania. Joining me right now, Amy and Steve Thurston, founders of Hope, Inspire Love. Thank you both for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Amy, tell us more about your ministry.
Sure. Hope Inspire Love is a community impact local nonprofit combating human trafficking through 4 various stages of the needs of survivors in our community. We're meeting them in the gaps of services with a faith-aligned approach to see their needs and say, how can we help you? So we're doing that through empowerment and helping them through strategic ways of mentoring and job security and helping them in that, as well as helping the community understand what trafficking looks like through education and prevention, and just again helping our communities know that there is a need out there and we're here to help. And through mentorship and establishing those relationships, we're seeing survivors flourish and thrive.
And that is certainly wonderful. And I think many people don't believe it's happening right here in our neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Steve, why don't you share your personal story?
Absolutely. So I was on my way to a job interview in Philadelphia, and I got on the subway, and in the subway, this man walks in with a young female, and she's literally 13, 12 years old, and not dressed for the season, all makeup all dolled up, and the gentleman was really aggressive with her. He would grab her by the neck and by the arm, and he would pull on her. And just in that moment, I'm thinking, what's happening here? And so I locked eyes with her, and she's looking at me, but she's not saying anything. But I'm feeling through the eye connection that she's reaching out and asking for help. And I just stood there, didn't do anything. And then all of a sudden, the subway doors open, and the man just walks away with her. And it was a missed opportunity for me in that moment, because I didn't know, I wasn't educated in terms of what was human trafficking, and I just didn't know what to do.
So this had a profound impact on you.
Yeah. And I went home and spoke with Amy, and we kind of shared a little bit about, what is out there in terms of education for this, because we were searching and we couldn't really find anything here locally in Pennsylvania. And so we decided to start Hope Inspire Love.
So Amy, tell us more about your program and how it works.
Yeah, I love that because of a need that Steve saw. We say that passion for the one is what led us here. Change lives is what keeps us going. And so for us, we saw that there were gaps of services, meaning that not every survivor wants restoration home or services that they might feel that are program driven, where it's a requirement to do. We wanted to build relationships. We know that trauma that happens through relationships needs to be restored through healthy relationships. And so we said, how can we meet them in the needs? And so we first started with the education, just like Steve's saying, what does this look like in our communities? How do we train healthcare workers, law enforcement, our local schools and businesses and churches? But then seeing the need where young people would come up to us saying, hey, I think that happened to me. And that moment of like, oh my word, like, let's sit with you in that moment. And oftentimes, survivors don't self-identify. So for us, it was just walking with them and doing life with them. And I think we can all think of people in our lives that have met with us, sat with us, but we can also think of the people that have left us, right? Just like we're talking about fathers today, just that abandonment factor. So many people walk through that abandonment factor of saying, who is there for me? Who sees me? And that's why they're prey of they're looking for love and acceptance, finding somebody that will see them and love them. And so that's what we're doing. We're showing up and loving them and meeting them where they are and building that trust over time. We're about the long-term solution, not the short-term fix. And so with that, that means we're doing life with you. Whatever that looks for you, individualized with those that we serve.
Yeah, I can't imagine being in that situation and just seeing a little girl there almost crying for help, but what do you do? How do you weave the gospel into what you do?
Yeah, I love that we say we're faith aligned, not faith forced. And the reason is many of those that we serve came from abuse in the church. They've not known who really the Lord is. They have seen it in such a skewed view that we want to be able to help rewrite that story for them. And if we can just walk with them and they can ask those questions versus us saying, hey, this is what you need to believe, or this is what you need to understand. I love when they say, why aren't you giving up on me? Everyone else has. Why do you still show up when I'm angry or I'm rude or I'm not kind to you, or when I don't want anything to do with what you guys do? And we get to say, isn't that what Jesus does? That's what he does, and that's why we say passion for the one. Christ went after the one. And if we're not content with just pursuing that one, then why do we do what we do? And so we love when they ask us the questions about our faith and why we trust God and why we have peace and joy. We get to lead them in that conversation, but they make that opportunity to have that conversation happen.
Right. Certainly being the hands and feet of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Steve, thank you for sharing your journey with us and the inspiration for Hope Inspire Love. And Amy, you're going to stay with us because we're going to talk more with you in our next segment. Coming up next on Morning Light, we will learn about the importance of the mentor program with Hope Inspire Love. Stay with us. We're back in 1 minute. Welcome back. We just learned about the mission of Hope Inspire Love. Now we're going to learn more about the importance of mentors. Back with us is Amy Thurston and Bethany Zimmerman, Mentor Director. Bethany, thanks for being with us for this segment. So first of all, Amy, why don't you tell us about the importance of mentors?
Yeah, I think the importance of having mentors in our life just help transform us and help us on the journey. We always need that person that's leading us to that next step. I always tell people you need 3 friends. One that's going to take you further than where you've been, one at the same level, and one that you're coming alongside to get to the same level. And so for us, that's what we want to see in mentorship. And with doing life, we've noticed that the importance of having a mentor that's volunteer versus paid really is a value to those that have gone through trafficking, where it's not transactional, it's about relationship. So mentorship is what we see as transformational and empowering to survivors.
So Bethany, tell us more about how this program is designed.
Absolutely. It's designed with the survivor in mind. So one of the things we did about 3 years ago, we wanted to revamp the program to make it more survivor-centered, led, and focused. We went into the community. We asked them, previous mentees, current mentees, and future mentees, what is it that you want in a program? And it was an overwhelming, hey, we don't want somebody to be paid to hang out with us. Everybody is paid to hang out with me. And we want somebody who's going to be consistent, who actually is going to show up when they say they're going to show up and do what they say they're going to do. And we found some amazing women in our community, both with lived experiences that they connect and they bond, and they have just such a beautiful connection that leans into that restorative service piece.
So these are people who care deeply about the survivors, and they're trained too.
Yes, over 30 plus hours of trauma-informed training. We do first aid training, CPR. We try to get everybody as prepared as they can be, the art of redirection and behaviors, what to look for, and just building that relationship. I always tell people, if you're nervous about being a mentor, do you have friends? Because if you have friends, you can be a mentor. Because oftentimes when we look at that mentorship, it's always the mentor here and the mentee here, where our program is, let's bring it back to level, because they both get to learn from each other. And the beautiful part is the mentors are trained to walk in humility, just like Christ would, right? And so have the courage to say, you know what, I don't know how to do that activity that you're saying, but I'm willing to learn with you.
Yeah. Wow. And I'm sure their needs are vast
Yes.
and vary too.
Absolutely. It can be anything from, hey, I need diapers this week. How do I go about budgeting to plan for that kind of need? To, hey, I need an MP3 player, right? Or a job, or how do I write a resume? How do I go and have a good interview? The opportunities are great to mentor them and look into them and see what is it they actually need. And I think the unique thing about our program is it's not just focused on one location. We can connect them to the community with resources, and that's really what they need. Multiple supports in our community, and showing them that it's not just one organization, you have a whole community behind you.
Yeah, and that's important. Amy, talk to us about some of the transformations.
Yeah, I love, we serve various ages. So we're working with youth and adult women. And what we've seen is that when we start with adult women, they were saying, where were you when I was 13 or 14? And it was that aha moment that if we could work on the earlier stages of life where people did not believe them, didn't walk with them in the brokenness, where the healing could be earlier on versus later in life. And so the transformations we have seen is women finding their voices, youth finding their voices, that it's always been there, but individuals empowering them to say, you can do this, you can make this. And one young woman that went through our services literally could not even look a man in the eye, fearful that she was an issue, she was a problem, always, creating a problem. That was what was told to her. And her being able to order something, then find a job, work within doing our coffee and part of the social enterprise, then going on to now going to college and being on her dean's list, thinking she would never be able to do any of this because everyone had told her she was never going to make it in life. And she did it, not us. She did that. She applied, she went after it, and we just got to be some of her biggest fans in that journey. And she'll always say, but you never stopped believing in me. You kept saying I could do it. And that's why we do what we do, because they're the heroes of their story, not us. Right. We're just a small sliver, and when we tell them the communities behind their healing, it's not about just Hope and Spare Love. It is literally the community, the churches. They believe in you, and they want to see you succeed. All of our services are free, so when they can see that the whole community is behind that, it empowers them that they're not alone.
Yes, some huge accomplishments. And Bethany, I'm sure some huge accomplishments as far as spiritually too, because I'm sure many people are angry with God.
Absolutely. We get to, again, that's a restorative piece, right? God is a God of restoration, and being able to, all of our mentors are faith-centered, right? They all have their own faith. And being able to show up and model that in a way in that day-to-day activity, like one mentor was just telling me the other day, she was driving in traffic and somebody cut her off and she didn't respond the way that the mentee thought she should. And she goes, why did you not get upset about that? And she goes, well, I serve Jesus and my attitude needs to be X, Y, Z. And I always laugh about how Jesus can just sneak his way in there and bring himself into the conversation.
Amazing. Thank you both for being here and sharing this with us this morning.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
You're welcome. And for more information about this ministry, visit hopeinspirelove.org. Stay with us. We're back right after the break.
Welcome back. Well, before Hitler, Stalin, and Mussolini had the deaths of tens of millions of souls and untold devastation on their hands, they were little boys. This is their picture. Boys who needed love and guidance of a father. Adolf Hitler was just 13 when his father, Alois, died. History records Alois as a distant, quick-tempered, severe man who beat his son. So too was Joseph Stalin's dad, Bessarion, a violent, abusive alcoholic who abandoned his family when he was 9. And the Italian fascist Benito Mussolini's father, Alessandro, was a tough alcoholic blacksmith, an atheist who mentored him in the revolutionary art of socialism. No, a bad father doesn't guarantee children grow up to be dictators. There are too many examples where dark circumstances yield good character, but a dad's presence leaves a mark. Thankfully, in Jesus, the gospel offers a perfect Heavenly Father who never leaves, always hopes, always forgives. For Debra and the entire Morning Light team, I'm Jeff Coleman. Thanks for watching. Check on your neighbors. We'll see you again tomorrow morning.